Our plan is to demand that the president release the files, and we'll see what he does on the 19th. But I think, again, these pictures, some of these photos are really disturbing. And I know we've put some out today. There are many others. And some of the other photos that we did not put out today are incredibly disturbing.
Well, we don't know about the ones that will be coming, but we do know the ones that are already here are not fun and don't necessarily reflect well, not only on Donald Trump, but on a number of other associates of Jeffrey Epstein that include a lot of very rich, very well-connected, powerful men. And that includes people like Bill Clinton, Steve Bannon, Larry Summers, and more. And as Representative Garcia alludes to there is this deadline coming up for the Justice Department to release the FBI redacted Epstein files. I'm sure they'll do it, but for now we have these photos, which we're gonna dive into, but what was your immediate reaction when you saw them?
Yeah, so I care less about the photos and more about what it proves about Jeffrey Epstein. So I know that he was friends with Trump and Clinton. We got Trump and Clinton in these pictures. We'll show you all the pictures in a second. But what I want to tell you about is, after you see the pictures, how incredibly powerful Jeffrey Epstein was. He was actually one of the most powerful men on earth. This is not a rando who was just doing a side sex operation, okay? No, this was at the hub of power on the planet. So you see the most powerful people in the pictures, and then I'll tell you the rest of the story.
Exactly. Well, why don't we jump into the pictures? Bearing in mind, we don't have a lot of data about when they were sent, who they were sent to, why these individual ones were kept, how representative they are of the 95,000 others that might well be coming. But here's a fun one to start off with. This photo shows a bowl of condoms, and they're Trump condoms. $4.50 each, which seems a little expensive. And it's labeled, "I'm huge," with a very flattering photo of Donald Trump. Now, we don't know if Trump was at that particular party, why exactly Jeffrey Epstein, if they were his condoms that he was selling, why exactly there were condoms available at this particular party in Donald Trump's honor. What was going on at the party that they expected they'd be necessary, or is it just some sort of inside joke? I don't know. Maybe there's an explanation that doesn't cast them both in a bad light, but I don't know what it is. And then of course you have the photos where Donald Trump actually appears. So here he is with 6 women wearing leis. Their faces have all been redacted by the committee. We don't know who they are. We just know that Donald Trump is there. He's looking very casual. His shirt is unbuttoned. He's got a big handful of that one woman's side, but we don't know what year the photos were taken. We don't know the context. We also have these photos. On the left, you can see Donald Trump with an unidentified woman. There's another one where Trump is next to Epstein at an event while speaking to a blonde woman. Interestingly, her face is not redacted, and many other individuals in the photo is not redacted. But in the 2 prior photos with either one woman or 6, their faces were redacted. And at this point, we're left to wonder why exactly you would redact some faces, but not others. One, I think, semi-plausible hypothesis that I've heard is that the ones whose faces were redacted potentially were victims or survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. We don't know for sure, but that is one explanation. So that's Donald Trump. He's not the only one that was in these photos, though. You also have Steve Bannon. Here he is taking a fun mirror selfie with Jeffrey Epstein. They're just having fun, 2 fun guys, wild and crazy, just hanging out and figuring out how to launder Epstein's reputation, which is what Steve Bannon was doing, and not nearly enough right-wingers are furious about it. Here he is, they're having a little meeting of the minds. If we zoom in, there's a framed photo of a woman lying on a bed or a couch there. So Jeffrey Epstein, even at that late date of those photos, wasn't exactly hiding his interests or anything, and he left it out for Steve Bannon to show up. But of course, Steve Bannon's not gonna be dissuaded by that photo. He knew at this point everything that Epstein had done and still wanted to work with the guy. And so that's some Republicans. As we alluded to, you also have Bill Clinton right here. You can see him with Ghislaine Maxwell, with Jeffrey Epstein as well. We also have Larry Summers, who is on a plane in this next photo. And as of right now, he seems like the guy who's suffered the most from this scandal so far this year. He's actually like stepped down from positions and everything. But there's a lot more, including, again, many prominent Democrats. And so the Democrats who released this might have thought, well, we're clearly being fair. We put out the Donald Trump ones, we put out the Bill Clinton ones. Didn't stop the White House from implying that this is some sort of scam or hoax just to attack Donald Trump. And that's what they claimed, baselessly claiming that the idea that they were close friends or had any sort of affiliation had been debunked. That's utterly ridiculous. They were best friends for many years. And so that's what we have right now. There's a lot of photos still to come out. What do you make of it?
Yeah, so first couple of notes on the photos. So the girls whose face were redacted next to Trump, the leading theory is that they, as John's told you, they're redacting the ones that might have been victims or whatever. On the other hand, when you look at the picture, they don't look overly young, right? It's impossible to tell, of course, but I looked as careful as I could, and they looked like they were adult women. Okay, so not overly old either, right? But they didn't look like they were teenagers. But you could make up your own mind. I have no special expertise on it. I'm just telling you what I saw, okay? So now, one of the other pictures had this Trump condoms, and he's huge. So Epstein and Trump are constantly making jokes about sex throughout their very, very long relationship. There was a picture of a young girl, anime tied up in a sexual position. So it's like, the reason I tell you all that is because all these guys, did they know that he was committing illegal acts with underage girls? No, we don't know that yet, right? But did they generally know that Jeffrey Epstein liked sex and was obsessed with it, and that was a huge part of knowing Jeffrey Epstein, was that he would throw these, would get you sex, basically. Everyone knew that, everyone, right? That was not a secret at all, right? And did a lot of people, including Trump, know that he liked young girls? Yes, they would say it. Trump said it. He said, people say Jeffrey likes sex as much as I do, but he likes them on the young side. He said it, right? Yeah. So, all right, so now that's his connections to all these super powerful people. Now, the question is, yeah, but is he just a rando running a side hustle here, etc.? Or is there some significant maneuvering behind the scenes, political maneuvering, using that information that he has on the powerful for a purpose, right? And the answer seems to be, based on the emails, yes. Mm-hmm. So, Dropsite News has a series of incredible articles about this because they've got the leaked emails. The reason that Larry Summers is in the biggest trouble and had to quit a bunch of jobs is because other leaked emails that Dropsite News has, not the ones that are coming into Congress from this state, show that Larry Summers and Epstein used to strategize about how Larry Summers could have sex with people that worked under him and use his position of power to manipulate the women and insist on sex. It was like, terrible, right?
Yeah.
And so we're gonna tell you more about that later in the show because there's some new emails that show overwhelming connection to Israel. The largest Israel charity is charity that gave to pro-Israel causes in America, run by Jeffrey Epstein, basically. So now, but to get to the point about power, let me read you one section here from Dropsite News. The trove of emails exchanged at the height of the Syrian civil war between 2013 and 2016 reveal Epstein's successful efforts to secure a private meeting between Ehud Barak, who's the former prime minister of Israel, and Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss a Russian brokered end to the conflict, including winning Russia's support for a negotiated removal of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Guys, think about that. I mean, look, this has already been out for about a month or so. Traditional news has not picked it up at all because it contains the word Israel in it. So they're like, no, protect Israel at all costs, but we're not controlled or anything. But look at that, just that one quote. How is that not a gigantic, so put Israel aside, how is that not a gigantic story? Here is a guy so powerful that the former prime minister of Israel cannot get a meeting with Putin, but Epstein calls up and says, hey, Vlad, let's go. You're meeting with Ehud Barak. And Putin says, yes, sir. Putin says, yes, sir. And they have the meeting. That's unbelievable. And what are they meeting about? Some side thing, a financial deal or whatever? No, they're meeting to decide the fate of Syria. And will Russia help Israel topple Bashar al-Assad? Or is Russia going to stay loyal to Bashar? There was no question that was more central at the time in geopolitics in the world, on the planet. So Epstein is at the very epicenter of power. He's deciding or helping to decide which countries fall and which countries don't. This is not a side character. What the press is doing is absolute malpractice in treating this as like, oh, it's just a sex thing. No. This was all about power. And in the emails, you see Epstein talking about how can we get America to bomb Syria? How can we get America to bomb Iran? Yes, back then, right? So he works with intelligence officers for Malaysia. No, I'm kidding. Israel, of course. And so there's an intelligence officer that stays with Epstein over and over again. So that's Israeli spies staying with Epstein. And then here's this little clip from Dropsite News. On December 8th, 2014, that guy's name is Yoni Koren, okay? And on December 8th, 2014, Ehud Barak emailed Koren to inform him of his plans to take his daughter and 2 grandkids to Washington, D.C. in the spring, writing, I want to take them to the White House and get there something more than the regular public tourist visits. Please see if you can be of help. So do you understand what's happening here? So the former prime minister of Israel is asking an Israeli spy staying with Jeffrey Epstein to get him and his granddaughters a meeting at the White House. Do you know how much power you have to be able to say, hey, White House, let's go. Everybody up and at him. You're gonna do what this guy's ordering you to do, okay? Jeremy Bash was a top aide to Leon Panetta at the time. And remember, at the time, Barack Obama's president, okay? So Obama's top aide to Panetta, one of the largest figures in the Obama administration. What happened? Barack, his daughter, and his 2 grandchildren visited the White House and the Pentagon on March 31st. At the Pentagon, by the way. They received a Secret Service escort, a guided tour from Yael Lempert, a special assistant to President Obama, and the National Security Council director for Levant, Israel, and Egypt. Lempert later negotiated the largest military aid package in American history, a 10-year, $38 billion package for Bolivia. Oh no, Israel in 2016. Okay. Bruh. So we're really having a conversation about whether Epstein was connected to Israel. He's having Israeli spies stay with him. The Israeli spies have so much power, they order the Obama White House around and they have a guided tour for the Israeli prime minister. Not just at the White House where he planted God knows how many bugs, but at the Pentagon. Literally, former CIA agents are on tape saying we never let the Israelis in because they would try to plant a bug every single time, okay? So this guy's at the epicenter of power. He could call Putin, he could call Obama, he can call anyone and get a meeting. He has Israeli spies and Israeli former prime ministers staying at his residence. So these pictures you're seeing with the most powerful people on earth, it's not a coincidence, it's not a side story. That's who was running the world. And he potentially had blackmail on the biggest figures in the world. And gee, I wonder if he used it. Gee, I wonder if that was part of the point. I mean, at this point, you really have to be one of the most naive guys in the planet to be like, oh, I think it was just random. He was gonna be a dentist and then he decided to run this sex ring and become one of the most powerful men on earth. But I bet he didn't use that power, even though every email says he used it on behalf of Israel. And Israeli spies everywhere.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing, John? Isn't it amazing that legacy media, cable news, etc., nothing, not a peep. Like these are the most startling revelations. They're confirmed, and they're like, no, I'm not interesting. How could that not be interesting? Yeah. How could that not be news?
I mean, I'd love to see, well, assuming that there was any emailing like that they wanted to cover, where exactly it gets stopped. Like, is it just like a standing thing? You don't talk about this stuff. Is it individual stories being spiked? Individual like sites for news? You're being told don't, like if it comes from Dropsite or whatever, like literally don't even pay attention to it. Like I wonder exactly how they're stopping it. You've been on the inside, you've seen some of that.
I'll tell you, look, I was in DC recently, had a meeting with a reporter, obviously all off the record, not gonna say who. And when I asked, well, it seems like you guys don't run many stories on Israel and and some of the atrocities, etc. Are you not allowed to run them? And she did this. like meaning I obviously can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's super obvious I can't.
Yeah,
right?
They might be listening right now.
Like, what is this? What the hell is this?
Yeah.
And so if you say that that's all perfectly normal, you're obviously lying.
Yeah.
So then the question is, why is all of traditional media deciding to ignore that Epstein was one of the most powerful men on earth and knew all the other powerful men and got God knows what out of them?
Yeah, and it makes you wonder, like there is at least some conversation about him right now, but like that reflects poorly on Trump and could potentially do him a lot of damage. What if we had a situation where it wasn't a matter of maybe this could hurt Trump anymore? Would it be talked about at all?
Yeah.
Would they cover any of it if it didn't have that objective?
Well, I mean, there's a bunch of answers to that. So first off, Epstein was already convicted of having sex, and it was with underage girls. They called the soliciting prostitution, but it was really underage sex, and everybody knew that. And that was all the way back in 2007, right?
Yeah, he's still getting all these meetings and everything afterward.
And the press just let it go. They're like, oh, we know that he was with Clinton and Trump, et cetera, et cetera. It took this magnificent reporter at Miami Herald, Julie Brown, to break the story that led to Epstein's arrest back in 2019. But the rest of the media was like, oh, there's a giant sex ring with a guy who's connected to Bill Gates and Bill Clinton and Donald Trump and all these things. Not interesting. Oh, and he got a totally light sentence where he could actually use the prison as a hotel and just leave the prison whenever he wanted. And he even got a day off from prison.
Yeah.
What is this, right? And there was literally only one reporter in the country who was like, that's strange.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look into it, okay?
Yeah.
And that was before the 2019 bust. And after the 2019 bust, again, it's the most like amazing story. It's captivated the imagination of the whole country.
Yeah.
Except the media, they're like, I'm not interesting. And John, right now, they're in a frenzy. They're talking about Epstein, right?
Yeah.
But they're not talking about the most relevant part, right?
Yeah.
The power part. They're not, under no circumstances are they allowed to mention the word Israel connected to Epstein, even though the emails are all Israel. Israel. How can we get Israel's policies passed? How do we do this? How do we do that, right? And they're like, lie. If you're in traditional media, your job is to lie to the American people and suppress real news. But the thing where they're going nuts on Trump and covering it a lot, I think it might have two purposes. One is, okay, people care about Trump, but also let's make it seem like this is all about Trump.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Take your eye off of why he did it. Don't worry about why he did it. Just Trump. And I even saw like Israel First accounts being like, oh, Trump. Oh, all of a sudden, no Trump, right?
Yeah, they can get in on it. Yeah. And by the way, isn't it crazy that after that first sweetheart deal, again, the prison's basically a resort. They did basically the same thing with Ghislaine Maxwell. Like even after all the additional stuff we know, they can still get away with the same thing.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets its wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.